Welcome to Fortune Cookies. Thanks for stopping by. So this is something I'm actually a day late on this. So I found yesterday on New Year's there is a hashtag 31 Days of Tarot challenge. So it's 31 days of just kind of showing you all some cool stuff that I have and spreading the word about tarot and, getting into some cool stuff. So, what I wanted to do, I'm going to do day 1 and day 2 together. Just because I'm a day late. I was going to do it, but I was banged up yesterday from doing all those, doing all the lives that I did over the New Year's. So, day 1 for the 31 Days of Tarot is this I guess it's ethony.com at ethony.com. I believe it's a teaching site. I think they have lessons, so so be it. I teach myself. I do lessons myself, but I never tell anybody, hey, don't get any lessons from that person, because you can always take something away from somebody that you learn from. So day 1 is what goodies did the holidays bring? So I have not used this deck yet. I actually bought it intending for my kids to give it to me. That was going to be a present from them, but I couldn't wait to open it. So I did. And here we go. So I'm not going to do like a full blown unboxing, but this is Mystical Medleys. It's based on it's Gary Hall's artwork. It's based on like the 1930s cartoons, which I think are really super fun, but it's a neat box. It's definitely some interesting artwork. So one of the things I do when I teach my classes is I tell people to cocktail party their deck. I will feature this in a cocktail party example of how to, get to know your deck, especially if it is a non-traditional deck like this. So, just the boxing part, and that's the devil card. So cool. The box itself is really quite substantial, magnetic. It of course comes with a sweet little book, and the meanings in the book are essentially the traditional meanings. They have some spreads in the back, but it's a sweet little book. You could start reading tarot with this. That's so Alice in Wonderland right there. I wouldn't recommend it. Just saying, I wouldn't recommend it. There's my devil card. Why is my devil card all by himself in there? There's the devil card. Artwork is so cool on that. Let me see if I can get close so you can really appreciate it. There you go. Sweet little card. So it's a neat little deck, and there are 2 extra cards. I don't think I have them in order anymore, but we'll do a quick flip through. Really some neat stuff in there. Some neat symbology that I'm just going to have to get, figure out like what resonates with me, how I'm going to read these cards. I'm going to turn this light off. I'm so annoying with the light, I know. Judgment card. Everything seems kind of jolly in this deck. Ace of Wands are actually brooms in a lot of them. Some of them, they're actual wands. We have very, very familiar, if you're my age, if you're of an age that you watch cartoons like this. I'm very, very fond of the 1930s cartoons. That is adorable. That is the cutest Ace of Cups I've ever seen. Like I said, I don't want to do like a complete flip through. The Fool, I did want to show you the Fool. The Magician, very, very sweet. Oh, that High Priestess. She it does it for me. Empress is super cool. Emperor. And there's one that I wanted to show you all. Wheel of Fortune. Very neat. Our Devil card. And there were two additional cards in here. I can't remember what they are, but I'm very anxious to get to know. It's one of the most benign Three of Swords I've ever seen. I'm very anxious to get to know this deck, and so I will cocktail party it, and I'll also do the get to know your deck spread that I usually do with all of my new decks once I cocktail party them and get to know them and get kind of the vibe for them. So you can look forward to that video in a future video. So day 2 of the 31 days of tarot is what decks, what are your top decks, tarot decks of 2021. So I didn't do the top usage decks because that, I didn't want to, bring in like, oh, these are the cards that I just use all day long, because like when I do my readings for my clients, sometimes I let them pick, and sometimes I direct them to what cards we're going to use. But these 3 decks, I fell in love with this year. Dark Mansion Tarot, the Ethereal Tarot, and the Star Tarot. And I'm going to save the Star Tarot for last because this was like a huge find of mine. And I actually bought the deck for one of my girlfriends as a thank you gift. She's also a reader, and she flipped out. She absolutely loved it. And she was like, this is the deck I've been waiting for my whole life. And, true that. It is like a really rich deck, but we'll get there. So the Dark Mansion Tarot, I found this online, just, early morning coffee, doing, searches. And it very much had a Tim Burton feel, steampunk feel to it. The Tim Burton deck, I didn't love it, and I didn't buy it. One of my girlfriends has it, and it just didn't feel that great. I didn't like that the suits were different. I'm not slagging up the deck, but I was like, it's kind of a bummer. I really did want something kind of steampunky, some kind of, Tim Burton-y, Jack Skellington kind of feel. This deck scratches that itch for sure. And the way that it reads very puckishly. I've said that before in my in lessons that I've taught. It has like a very like Victorian steampunk feel, but it reads whimsically. I would expect it to be a bit more, like laudanum and exploding stoves. I don't know if you know anything about Victorian era. When they were building those houses with the gas stoves inside with the gas lighting, there were some issues with them, and kitchens would explode randomly. My husband asked a question the other day, why are all ghosts Victorians? And he came to the conclusion that it's like, well, life was just so crazy then. It really it evokes an emotion, but it's a lighthearted emotion. It's not as definitive as some of the other decks that I have, and we'll get there. There's some cards like the Hierophant has a little bit of an edge to him. Like he's definitely not the warm and fuzzy Hierophant that you see in the Rider-Waite deck, the traditional Rider-Waite deck. It's a little bit more hardcore. Our Sun card, we have 2 kids there that are just enjoying the day at the museum, which definitely is like a Victorian thing. I don't think many kids today would be enjoying the museum. The Magician card I really am quite fond of. He just is like the little curious Sherlock Holmes kind of neat science-y Elon Musk from 100 years ago. So, it definitely is a sweet deck. It reads very interesting. I'm quite fond of it. I'm very, very glad I got it. It's got gilded sides, which you can see, I do use it a lot, so the gilding is coming off. But I'm quite fond of it. I'm so glad I got it. It was a little bit more expensive. It was one of my more expensive decks, but that's okay. Every now and then you gotta get a deck that costs a little bit more money and that's fine with me. So the Ethereal Tarot is extraordinarily beautiful. And this was one that I picked up this year, and I picked it up because the artwork has a very airtight feel. It's gilded. I love gilded cards, and just anything glittery, shiny, I'm like, squirrel. One of the things, if you ever drive past a lighting store with me, watch out, because I'm probably going to drive off the road. It's going to be spooky. Give me a chandelier and I can't stop looking at it. It is absolutely lovely artwork, very clear artwork. The messages that come from this deck tend to be more lifetime messages, and it does have a decidedly feminine feel for me. This is, if I ever have a client that is a woman and trying to find her path and trying to find her way in life or in her career, this is a great deck to go to. The messages are clear. They are very, very, they lead into, that Empress is just beautiful. They lead into multi-lifetime messages, karmic lessons that we're trying to move through. So I'm very fond of it. There are 2 extra cards in the deck, which also make it a little bit interesting. This is one of them. There's the Artist, and there's also the Well. The Well is where creation comes from, and then the Artist is the the Well is where the creation comes from, and then the Artist is the execution of that. And these are numbered after the World card. So we have the World is 21, 22, and 23. So that also makes it a little bit more interesting, having an additional couple of cards in there. So, when decks have the additional cards, sometimes I don't use the additional cards. I discard them. I don't discard them, but I put them on the side, just because, especially if I'm doing a reading online, I'll have, that 1 or 2 people that are just like, oh, that card doesn't mean that. Again, when I teach my classes, I do stress, get to know your decks and find what meanings, what traditional meanings resonate with you, and then hang on to that and go with it, because that's the way that you're going to read the cards, the way you read the cards, versus reading the cards inductively, where you just have the book open and you're just going back and forth reading the meanings, or you write the meanings on the cards and you're just by rote saying, well, this is what that means. You're going to get yourself into trouble if you want to read intuitively ever, if you keep doing that. So to this deck was my number 1 purchase for 2021. This really was the deck. And like I said, I bought it for one of my girlfriends as a thank you gift. And she was like, this is the deck I've been waiting for my whole life. I think this is the deck I've been waiting for my whole life, but I don't use it all the time. Years ago, when I first started reading, I bought traditional Rider-Waite deck. I still have that deck. It's super, super old and super, super banged up and super, super written on. But I also had purchased myself the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck, or Thoth deck, depending on how you pronounce it. That deck, it was part of his progression in the Golden Dawn. Part of your initiation into the Golden Dawn, you have to create your own tarot deck. And he commissioned Lady Frida Harris to do the paintings. They are amazing in terms of artwork, and that was one of the things that intrigued me about the deck. But when I started to study, holy moly, the book is hard. It really is a lifetime of study to understand, and that's without getting initiated into the Golden Dawn. I had no interest in getting involved in an organized religion or anything like that to read tarot. I have my own religious beliefs and my system of morality based on the religions that I was raised with. So I just didn't have any interest in doing that. And I studied as much as I could. And it really is a much more academic study in terms of tarot card reading. And frankly, I was a little bit afraid of the deck. And I realized later in life that part of the reason that I was a little bit afraid of that Crowley Toth deck was because of the artwork. And artwork should have you should have an emotional response or visceral response to artwork. That the best of artwork does that. And that's really what was happening with me. Every now and then, I hear from somebody who has a Toth deck and they have 3 Maguses. The Magus was the magician card in the deck. And there were 3 paintings that were made that Lady Frida Harris made for the Magus. And if you have a deck that's got 3 of them, oh, you are such a lucky duck. And I'm so jealous because I only have the one that was mass produced. I bought my deck in like 1988, 1989. So it's not one of the originals. It's, but I still hang on to it. Apparently you can't buy the size that I have. It's like an extra large size, but nonetheless, I digress. So I still have that deck. I have it put away. I still have all the books. I have multiple books on it. One of them I will be discussing in like day 4. We'll be talking about that, the 31 Days of Tarot. And sorry, I had to take a drink of water. But that brings me to this deck. So the Star Tarot, again, this is a little bit more of a pricier deck. I think it was like $31 or something like that. First of all, the back is beautiful. And this is on the book. And when you look it up online, you'll see all this. I purchased it not really reading very much about it. I was just like, oh, the artwork is really great. Guess what? It's based on Toth Tarot. So what is different in this and the Toth Tarot, the Frida Harris deck, Aleister Crowley deck, is chock full of symbolism. There's a ton of symbols in there. A lot of Egyptian symbolism. And so, I found I was going like back and forth, like, what is the crocodile? What is the snake? What is this? I got butterflies. I got a crocodile and butterflies. Like I kept going back and forth, instead of understanding it. Now, also with the understanding of Golden Dawn, you have to have an understanding of the Tree of Life and how the archetypes for the major arcana work in the Tree of Life. And that was something that I struggled with as well. But this year, when I got this deck, I found a book that said understanding that Tree of Life isn't so much an academic understanding as an emotional response to it, as a knowing versus a learning. So that was something that was really amazing to me. And, it was in the course of studying this deck, that was something that I learned. So you can see there's unbelievable imagery in every single card. It's beautifully crafted and just really a spectacular deck. Reads richly. I do use it, but I feel like I've just, I'm scratching the surface. I don't want you to think like I'm completely unaware of how the deck works. But, I know there's so much more. There's so many more. Oh, and there she is. So many more doors that I can open, like this High Priestess. But this is, one of the tarot decks that I just am so glad that it popped up in my feed and that I was able to snatch it up and do some readings with it. So that's the Hierophant. That's an amazing Hierophant. And look at all that symbology in there. Look at all that imagery. Just absolutely fantastic. 9 of Pentacles. 9 of Pentacles. Another favorite card of mine. When I do get new decks, there's a couple of cards that I look at. Of course, my son loves the Devil. He always wants to see the Devil. Judges the deck. on the he judges the deck on the death card, which the Crowley death card is amazing. Judges it on that. I always look at the Devil and the Lover's card. They do match up, and I want them to match up in my deck. I don't want them to look different. There's our Lover's card. I also look at that Three of Swords. I want to know what my Three of Swords looks like, because I want that Three of Swords to evoke an emotion. Death card, super fun. My son didn't love this one, though. He did not love this deck. Those of you who follow me know my son is a sensitive, but he is too young to learn. I tried to get him started, but he is also a musical genius, and he plays 15 instruments. And I think his cup is overflowing, and I'm just trying to find my Devil card too, so that you guys can see that. I'm not doing a flip through. This is not a flip through. It kind of is, but let's see. Do we have the Devil card in here? Five of Swords. That's an awesome card. The Sun, really, whoo, that's a great one. That's a great Sun card. Prince of Wands, Emperor, Hangman. So this is one of my less awesome videos. So I don't even know if I can find the Devil. I may have passed it already. I apologize if I did. There we go. So they're close. They're close, but not exactly. Still the structure is there, so I'm okay with that. But wow, look at that. Look at that gal in the middle. She's hot stuff. Hot stuff, literally. So super, super, super intense imagery in this. Again, taking away from the Egyptian symbology in this deck, they lean more toward Native American symbology, which gives it a little bit of a different feel. I absolutely love it. This is, one of the decks that I'll be working on for the entirety of my life. So I am very, very fond of it. And I will continue with more over the 31 days of tarot. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope everybody's having a great day. And please like, share, and subscribe. I will all talk to you soon.